Hello, good evening, good night, good morning, good afternoon, probably wherever you are, I'm sure there's somebody here from everywhere. So it's good to have so many of you in already, and I will see you in a moment. Yes, I'm back again. Here I am. And as I said, it's good to see a few of you in already. The chat has been rattling away in the background there. I wasn't, I was reading it, but I wasn't responding because it was sort of, I was busy doing other stuff. So let's actually say hello to whoever's in so far. Whiskey works, Graham. My mate Graham there down the road. Good to see you, Graham. I'm doing things a little different for myself tonight. I've split my screen just to explain because I might get a bit confused. I've split my screen and I'm doing the YouTube thing along with my StreamYard thing at the same time, so as I can actually see, because I've set my good friend Ben Slater here at Whiskey with Molly as a moderator this evening because there was a bit of funny goings on the last time. So I decided to set a moderator this time, and Ben had already offered his services. So thank you, Ben, who is in. Drew from AZ. Drew was just telling me there he had watched the rugby yesterday. I don't know any of the rest of us is into rugby, but the Irish rugby yesterday was, I think, farcical would be the best way to explain it. If you're not into rugby, it probably doesn't make much sense, but Ireland lost their hooker, Italy lost their hooker due to injury. Then they lost their other hooker due to a red card. So there were two set pieces, the scrums and the lineouts, which weren't really contested after that. So it was just farcical. Anyway, getting away from that. Whiskey Straight Al's in. Good to see Al. As I said, Whiskey with Molly Ben is in. Daniel Vermas. Hello, Daniel, my friend. North Coast Drams, Tony. Yes, I said Drew from AZ was in. Bill Monteith, good to see you, Bill. Lee J. Brown, how are you, Lee J, my friend? Donner Pass Tim. Let's see. Neil Laverty, how are you, Neil? Jimmy Jazz, good to see you. Andre from Holland, good to see you. Andre, I'm sure, yeah, I think you've been in my chat, but maybe a new name to the live. David Owen, Billy Boy. Let's see. Good to see so many of you in, actually, because I didn't realize until just before I went live that Alan, maybe I shouldn't tell you this, but Alan the Whiskey Friend's actually going live at the moment as well, and he's talking dirty whiskey. Alan and I usually would tie up and see, which one of us is doing a live, because he tends to do his on the Monday night when he's doing them. I'll do mine on the Monday night, but for some reason this time we just missed each other, so we're both going live at the moment. Greg's Whiskey Guide. Greg, good to see you, my friend. McCallum Fine and Rare. Doc, how are you? Des. Oh, it's great to see so many in. David Owen, I think I missed you there a minute ago. Jeff Whiskey. So, look, great to see you all. It really is. I was going to do this last week, sort of straight after the Glasgow Whisky Festival. In hindsight, I was glad I didn't, because I needed a day. I definitely needed a day to recover. So I was glad I'd booked last Monday off. I wasn't working, and it was nice to actually get the chance to have that day and recover. And I thought, I'll just leave the live stream for another week. So before I go any further, there's no agenda, but my little box, Jim's box, as you can see, is getting, well, it's full because I filled it again from just stuff. So the random generator you will hear rattling around in here, as long as you can hear me, is picking a ball currently, and I want it to be something a bit different this time. So what's going to be? There's something hiding down in here. Let's see where it is. Oh, this is from Frank Pete Head, and it is it's an SMWS Clynelish, 9-year-old. Nice. Wayne Jeffers. Wayne, hello, a new name to me, I believe. Thank you for joining me. One of the problems I have with doing this, the random generator thing, is I do tend to keep the tape on these. So whenever it actually comes then to opening them live, they can be sometimes a bit tricky. Frank, usually I would see Frank about at some point, but not here at the moment. But this I've gone a bit blurry, but I'll be back in a moment. This, as I said, is actually, it says Bunnahabhain on there, but it's just, Frank just tends to stick labels on the stuff. So it's actually, as I said, it's an SMWS Clynelish 9-year-old. As I said, I'm a little blurry at the minute. It's not you, it's me. I'll come round at some point. It's just, and I've got my little Glasgow 1770 glass from the Glasgow Whisky Festival. I will talk about the Glasgow. I'm just going to pour all of that in there because that's the way I'm feeling tonight. I will chat about the Glasgow Whisky Festival. Weirdly, Lee J. Brown, he was joking when he said it, I know he was. But that blur is going to annoy me. Why is it blurry? I know Lee J was joking when he said it, but he says, "Is there any stories? Is there going to be stories from the Glasgow Whisky Festival?" There's nothing to hide. His question actually was, and as I say, I know he was joking at the time, but he said, "Will we hear about the Glasgow Whisky Festival, or will it be, what happens on the Glasgow Whisky Festival stays in the Glasgow Whisky Festival?" But nothing. It was actually Ben here at Whiskey with Molly went back to him and says nothing happened. Really, nothing. Nothing happened out of the ordinary. This blurriness is really starting to annoy me. This sometimes works. This probably not work, and it just it did for a split second. And Ben, no, it's not your eyesight. Keith McKenzie, I think you're another new name to me. There we go. We're back. So yes, this is I do like Clynelish. I've mentioned Clynelish before, that I do like it, but there's not an awful lot, as most of us will know. There's not an awful lot of them in the market in the official bottling line. You tend to go to the independent bottling zone. Luna Aaron's in as well. Luna, good to see you, my friend. I hope you're well. So we'll let that Clynelish 9-year-old settle a moment. What did I do? There's the ball. This is bottled at a hefty 59.2%. So listen, if there's anything you wish to discuss, anything, Whiskey Works Graham says Alan's hacking my camera. Possibly. Alan, I'd never met Alan, the whiskey friend, before we've shared screens together. We've spoken, we've messaged each other behind the scenes, etc. But I'd never met the guy. I seen him in the line, the queue for the Glasgow Whisky Festival, and I made a beeline for him and just tapped him on the shoulder just to shake his hand and say, "Alan, well, it was so nice to finally meet him." That was, and I said, "We'll see you inside," and we did. Seen each other inside. He came up to me at one point. He spied me inside, and like myself, he had a bag with him, just like a courier bag sort of thing, and it wasn't just for hair and makeup like mine. And he asked me, and he started to rhyme off samples. He started to rhyme off these whiskies. "Have you tried this? Have you tried that?" And there were over 300 whiskies on top of the table at the Glasgow Whisky Festival. I just noticed a comment from Drew from AZ, which I'll get to in a moment. But there was over 300 whiskies on the go, and you imagine could have had all of them had you had you a will to do so. But there wasn't one that Alan mentioned to me that was on the go. And I'm talking about samples of the latest teapot dram, and I can't even remember what it was he gave me, but none of them on offer. And he just reached into his bag and reached me. There's 4 samples he reached me, one after the other, and just went, "Try that, try that, try that." And then reached me one of his new coins. And I just thought that is legendary, in my opinion, at a whiskey festival, that the man does this. And another one, Chris Moore, another guy I was so glad to meet. Chris sort of looked after me while I was there, between Chris and Ben. And I really, really appreciate it. Peter Box is in. Did I see somebody else in? Maybe not. Anyway, yes, Drew from AZ. get back to a question that Drew asked. Heard talk of people getting samples under the table at the festival, and I was wondering how that takes place. Do they offer, or do you have to know to ask? Well, I actually was that was actually a fest. This was my first whiskey festival. I was a festival virgin. Alan, the whiskey friends, and Alan, I was just talking about. I was actually sending people to your channel. I didn't realize you were doing a live tonight, buddy. I apologize, and I was just bigging you up and saying how legendary you were at the festival. Sorry for stepping on your live tonight, my friend. Yes, back to Drew's question about under table stuff. A prime example. I was a festival virgin for this. But there's so many festivals over the last 2 years I was supposed to go to, but for one reason or another, they were either cancelled, postponed, or I couldn't make it, or whatever. So this is the first one I've actually made it to. This being the 2021 Glasgow Whisky Festival held in 2022, because it was postponed. So there will be another one in 2022 in November, as I'm sure is out there now. Oh, right. Anybody who's just joined in, this is a Clynelish SMWS 9-year-old, bottle of 59.2%, gifted to me by a sample gifted to me by Pete Head, Frank. And yes. Oh, yes. Sorry, Alan's saying that he's not live. It was just a quick premiere. Spot on. Cheers, Alan. Appreciate that, mate. Yes, true. Sorry, getting back to it. So I wasn't necessarily going to the Whiskey Festival for the whiskey. The whiskey was the reason I was there. But I wanted to go to meet people. I wanted to finally be able to, I don't like this expression, but it fits the bill here, to press the flesh with the good folk of the whiskey community. And I knew a lot of people who were coming that I just always wanted to meet and shake hands with and just say hello to. And I was not disappointed. We will get back to that. Back to Drew's question about the under the table drinks. I went through the door. We were queuing, and the queue was quite long. There's 1,000 people. There's 2 sessions, 12 to 4 for the Glasgow Whisky Festival, and then 5 to, well, it must have been 5 to 9, obviously. And there's 1,000 people, I think. There's tickets for 1,000 people per session. That's a lot of people in a whiskey festival. To me, it was anyway. Whiskey Lovers Society is in Hurt. Good to see you, my friend. So we went through the door. I had already met up with Chris Moore, the last drop. Lovely fella. Legend, in my opinion. Cousin Kevin Grant on Whiskey will know. We had been I met up with folk who were having breakfast. So we were talking Ebbhead, Rolf, Aaron McFault, Willie and Craig Dollier, who else? Ben, and there was Barry, who I never actually got a sign name. But anyway, so there was a crowd of us, and then Roy Aquafiti Duff came and met us because he had my ticket. Met us in the queue, and we went in, and the first place we made a beeline for, because it was just there as we went through the door, was Loch Lomond and Michael Henry. Meeting and greeting people. Sláinte, by the way. Oh, that's a beast. Holy. Oh, that's class. SMWS, 9-year-old Clynelish, bottle at 59.2%. That's big. It's meaty. It's impressive. So yes, straight over to Michael. I can't remember how it played out in my head. I think we all shook hands because we've all met Michael. We all knew I had met Michael before. Ben had met Michael. I think Ben had met Michael. I believe, hadn't you, Ben? Roy had met him, etc. What have you got for us? And he pulled out a bottle of new make spirit from under the table, bottled at 63 point something percent, and it was epic straight away. Billy Saunders and Billy was another one who I met at the Glasgow Whisky Festival, and it was an absolute pleasure. I've known Billy for a while in the background, but never met him once again, and it was just fantastic to finally meet him. So yeah, and yes, Luna, easy sipper to start tonight. Yeah, well, the random generator picked it. So Drew, that was how it started. That's how it sort of kicks off. If you ask, and we did at a few tables, what have you got under the table? They will generally have something, and they will generally quite happily offer it up to you. They're not really, I get the impression that there's no producer at these shows is trying to hide anything. So I was quite happy to just join in. I was pretty much following around. Ben and I, Whiskey with Molly, sort of took ourselves off and strolled around the place. Later, I will get to favourites. As a matter of fact, let's just hit on a favourite right now, because I noticed a comment from Ben earlier. Will you be on the web at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning for the new Kilkerran releases? He's asking the Kilkerran port cask. Yeah, that's the thing. He says the Kilkerran port cask we had at the festival was rubbish, you know, and no one should buy it. People have already been asking Ben, you know, friends over here. I emailed Fairley's yesterday and asked them to put a bottle of the port cask and the sherry cask aside for me. So we'll see. That's basically the way it works for Fairley's for me. If they haven't let me down yet. Oh, I'll tell a lie, actually. I think there was one release of the local barley, the Springbank local barley, that I didn't get at the time, but it's just one of those things. And the other thing is, with these releases of the new Kilkerrans, there's a new Long Row Red, which I also have got a comment on here, and I'll tell you in a moment, which I also enjoyed. The local barley I wasn't a huge fan of, but then I was speaking to Alan McLaughlin after the show, because I completely missed Alan at the show itself. I seen him outside, said hello, and then whenever the show started, never seen him the rest of the day. But apparently that local barley is a grower, if you excuse the pun. It's maybe not that sample stuff. Maybe, you know, they're literally giving you a splash in the bottom of your glass. And I mean, rightly so. That's an awful lot of whiskey to drink in a day. I seen another comment there somewhere. Ben's asking, is what I'm drinking. Well, according to the label, Ben, it's actually a 9-year-old Clynelish. Because Ben or Frank had left me notes with each bottling, so or each sample. I definitely seen something that I missed there. I swear I missed. Anyway, I'm sure it'll come back to me. Drew from AZ saying, did I find any slight smoke element to the Clynelish? Not if you hadn't suggested it, Drew. There's a hint, I would say, right at the very back. I struggle sometimes to find unless I'm sort of getting my palate starting to get to that point, that unless it's very noticeable smoke. If it's suggested, if it's a suggestion of smoke, maybe I'll convince myself sometimes, but no, I wouldn't have said I wouldn't find the smokiness in this. It's sweet, rich. It's It's actually quite hot. I'm going to add actually a drop of water to it because it is quite bold, shall we say, at 59.2%. But like all good whiskey, if it's got good character, and an awful lot of this at 9 years old is, in my impression anyway, from what I'm getting here, good spirit talking. I don't know what the maturation is in this. I imagine it's ex-bourbon, but it's very, very good. Hell's Wed is in. Helen. Very nice to see you, and I hope you and Andy are doing well. Mm. Yeah, that wee drop of water's helped that. It's rich, but there's a very dry sort of nose feel about it. Second fill ex-bourbon, Ben's reckoning. So I would have thought something along those lines, because the spirit definitely seems to be talking through. Right, I'm sure I missed something. We're gonna, moving forward this year, I think there seems to be a lot of chat about and I'm hoping this happens. I really do. Getting a few of us the next time. November, as I said, the Glasgow Whisky Festival is on again, the 2022 Whisky Festival, and so I'm hoping, it's looking like a few of us will go over from Northern Ireland this time. So I really hope so. So Drew's saying that he reckons this is actually, it's 26.162, Clynelish, 9-year-old, 59.2, matured in first fill expert. There's a good chance, Drew, that Frank actually did send me more details. What I've started doing now is pretty much just writing a name on the label, so as I know who sent me it. Graham says the Highland Battalion on tour. Definitely, mate. Definitely. The sad thing is too, I keep chatting about wanting to get over to the Limburg Festival in Germany. And Chris Moore, who I was talking about earlier, I know is a bit of a festival legend now. He manages to get to a lot of them. And I would love to get over to Limburg. I can't see it happening this year, barring a lottery win, because I just can't afford it this year. Next year, then if we get the Glasgow Whisky Festival out of the way in November, Limburg's in April. So then maybe, and hopefully by then, things will have settled, calmed a bit, and I'll get the chance to actually get over to that. So my question to you now is about these Kilkerran releases. Is anybody actually going to have a go at these? Do we think? Is there going to be punters out there trying to chase it up? Ben's actually saying tomorrow morning. I would totally honest with you, and as I am with most of these things, unaware that it was actually coming so soon. Kept being told March, but I just don't pay attention to these things. I'm not really a bottle chaser. I don't always fall into the trap of FOMO. Although I actually was asked then, because both Tony and North Coast Drams and Whiskey Works Graham, who are in here, I think both of them asked whether I would be looking into these, and I hadn't planned on. but there's a very definite, having tried the I didn't get a chance to try the sherry one, but the port one, I couldn't really miss it. So that's what I knew I was going to tell you something about the Long Row Red. And there's certainly people from this country will know what I'm talking about whenever I say this. Do you ever eat anybody else's chips? Do you ever try somebody else's chips? And when I say, obviously, when I'm saying chips, the Americans maybe think fries, whatever, chips. If you eat somebody else's chips, there's this old thing where if you eat somebody else's chips, they always taste better than your own. Somebody else's always tastes better than your own. And I had this story in my head earlier on that it just tickled me at the time. We were at something I was actually quite surprised about. I didn't think for 1 second at the Glasgow Whisky Festival we would get close to the Springbank or Kilkerran stands. I just expected this to be an unwritten thing that you just never worry about them. You'll not get close. But they were fairly close to the entrance. Someone, maybe, I think it was maybe Ben again, says, well, the stand's just there and there's not really that many at it. Let's just go. So we went. We had the Kilkerran. I actually had the new Springbank local barley. I had a sample of it, which I wasn't blown away by, but I do believe Alan says, as I say, as a grower. And then I turned, and somebody had already told me that the Kilkerran port was outstanding. You have to try that. Went and got a sample of that. While I was on my sample of that, pardon me, I got a tap on the shoulder, turned around, and Ben, Whiskey with Molly, shoved a glass under my nose and said, smell that. Well, at a whiskey festival, when somebody says smell that, that's, it's forgivable. You'll accept it. And he had actually just got a sample of the Long Row Red, the new Long Row Red. And it smelled, to me, it was all sweets, chews, candies, whatever way you want to call it. It's nice and sweet and rich and winey. And just incredible at that, in that moment. I still had my Kilkerran port in my glass. So I wanted to finish it first. Finished it. Back over to the Springbank stand. Can I try the Long Row Red? Weirdly didn't appeal to me then. So it was this stealing somebody else's chips. It smelled brilliant in his glass. When I got it, it just didn't have the same appeal. Took a moment though. Once it was in my glass a moment, then it started to get really rich and and all that sweetness and chewiness. They're candies that I'd got from Ben's glass settled out, and then it became about that rich, about the wine and etc. Now, there's with the scare of the FOMO and all that sort of comes in then that I would love to put my hat in the ring for all of these new Springbank releases that are coming, at Springbank Kilkerran releases that are coming tomorrow. But it's simple as I just can't afford to spend that sort of money willy-nilly like that. And I got paid today and I've already bought a bottle of whiskey, and it was quite a dear one. So it's just one of those things that I think this is something that we all understand and know, that you have to have some sort of guidelines and say, look, no, enough's enough. I can't just buy everything I want this month and leave myself in debt or leave myself. I know some people maybe do it, but at that point, I think you're in danger. I think at that point you are in danger of falling into a trap because every month, as we know, if you want it to, there'll be something released that you'll want to get your hands on. And if you just kept going over and over and over, you would, I mean, we are talking a lottery win here to keep up with the whiskey releases that come. So I'm saying no more. I have my name in the hat to see if I can get a couple of the new Kilkerrans. Thing is, I tried the port. I really enjoyed it. If I don't get them, it's no loss, really. To say it's no loss, I can cope with people going on about it and saying how great it is and all that there. It's that simple. I'm not that concerned, really. You know, I've got enough whiskey to tide me over, to see me by for quite a long time, I think. So, yeah, we can live without getting them. But if I get them, happy days. And if I get them, I'm sure there'll be some of you who'll get samples that can't get your hands on them, because I do feel that this is the thing that I feel. I feel for, you know, these people that can't get their hands on them. That's just the way it is. This Clynelish needed water, settled down, and just became right. Finish a bit short, a bit dry for my likings. But just, you know, big, all the same. Very nice. Let's get a drink of water and pick something else out. Alan, the whiskey friend, he said, "Bad crack, Alan, if you're having to sneak them past the wife." I know, but I know exactly what you mean. And what I realized, and I was telling somebody this the other day, and this is bad news. If I've discovered that if I fancy a wee one, just a wee one when the wife's nipped out to see her sister or something, fancy a wee one but say nothing, I'll just pour it in an ordinary glass. And then if I set it beside the sink, nobody will know what was in it. But if there's a Glencairn sitting beside the sink, she'll know what was drinking. She'll know what was drinking. That sounds bad. I'm not hiding bottles in the cistern yet. It's not got that bad. Petehead, Frank is finally here. Frank, we were just treading water till you came, my friend. We actually, Frank, the first sample I had tonight was your SMWS 9-year-old Clynelish. And very, very nice it was. That's what I was just saying there. Finish a little not short, dry. It was a bit brief, but the initial oof with it, and yeah, very, very good. Thank you very much, Frank. Appreciate that. So the random generator is back in its go. You will hear this rattling here. That is me looking for another bottle, and it is settled on. Oh, that's quite a change, quite a move over. Drew, I've written Drew on this ball, so Drew, I imagine it was you that sent me this. Drew from AZ, because you're the only, as far as I know, you're the only Drew that I know. Let's. There was a bit of chat there. I just want to skip back up and see what I missed. Yeah, Tony's saying that he's deleted an email that he started the Fairleys twice this week already. I actually spoke to. I was speaking to one of the representatives at the Springbank stand, and she asked, was I a Springbank was a member of the Springbank committee, and like a lot of people, I'd actually applied, or I have applied to be a member of the Springbank committee, but they're either queued or they're not taking any at the moment, and this young lady actually said that no, we're not taking any more at the moment. At which point I explained that I was sort of blessed in that I have people. I mean, really, I keep mentioning Fairleys. Can't say enough about them. Lovely people, great spot. And it's for anybody just wondering what I'm talking about with Fairleys. There's ones in here who'll know what I'm talking about, but it's just an off sales, really. There's a bar and off sales, but there's 2 off sales in a town called Rime, which, if you know, Ben's from Coleridge and Tony's from not too far from Coleridge. And but they have a deal with, they're one of the only, I think, off sales around here that get from Springbank and Kilkerran. Whenever the new releases come out, they come through. In Ireland, I think Fairley's is the only one that they'd actually come through. So to have, I explained that, I actually explained this to the young lady at the stand, and she says, well, you don't need it. You're better off not being part of the committee then, or not necessarily better off not being part of the committee, but you've got a closer link to getting these bottles than you would have as part of the committee. So it doesn't really, it sort of seems that it doesn't really matter being part of the committee. Okay, you maybe get the rare bottlings, but you know. Luna's saying I could wash the Glencairn after the drams, just an idea. Luna, I know, but that's effort. I know. But you see, you're thinking the way my wife would think. She knows me well enough that I would just, if I had it, I would just set the glass down. Yeah, this is as I say, Michter's single barrel, straight rye. Actually, never had Michter's rye, I don't think. And I do like rye whiskey. I know there's a stigma with rye. I know some people like it, some people don't. Drew, did you send me samples? I've written Drew on this, and barrel 16E632. If you did, my friend, I appreciate it. That's the thing with having this box of samples. So many of them in here, and I do write, and as I say, I've written Drew on this, and happy days. That's nice. It's actually nice. I haven't had bourbon or rye in ages, and for the simple fact that I tend to drink bourbons and ryes in the summer months, which is a bit of a laugh here. You know that we don't see an awful lot of the sun in this country. I know we could bang on about how crappy the weather is, but it's true. It's not great. It has to be said. So I tend to drink sweeter whiskeys, bourbons, ryes, even some of the Irish blends and stuff in the summer. It just feels better. It feels right. Now there is something, sorry, an interesting fact here from Ben Whiskey with Molly. Caitlin Stark, actress from Game of Thrones, Michelle Fairley, is from the family run business. I did not know that. Didn't know that now. Drew, yes, I remember now. I do remember now. I remember you sending me yes, and cheers. Thank you very much, my friend. I do remember you sending me a list of your inventory and asking me what I would like off it. And I remember saying that the Michter's Rye was one I want to try. That's a lovely nose. It's nice. As I say, it's such a nice, fresh change. I think I've spent so long in Scotch whiskey this time round. I haven't even. Now I do. I've mentioned this before. My father-in-law is an Irish whiskey fan. He's not. He likes Scotch whiskey as long as it's not peated. I've turned him into a bit of a Loch Lomond fan. So I'll try to find him. I'll steer him toward Irish whiskey. Whereas yesterday was a prime example. We were watching the Ireland rugby match. I was pouring him Powers. I was drinking Longlow. So, you know, I feel like as if I've dwelt for a long time in Scotch whiskey now. I've not visited bourbons or ryes, and even whenever I do visit a bourbon or a rye, I have a tendency to just, I always look over my shoulder here because they hang around in the bottom of my cabinet, and it's sort of like Long Branch or Four Roses or something like that, which, you know, I like them, but I just don't drink them that often. See, that's a typical. There's a with rye, especially good American rye, I think, good Canadian rye as well. There's that weird mentholy note that I always find hangs over the top of everything. Yeah, it's so fresh, and it is like menthol. Mm. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I need to get back into ryes again, and there's that slight licorice note. Mm. Mm. I've actually kept a wee bit in this, and I might actually drain it before I'm finished here. Mm. Drew Sen got a chance to try two of the new colognes. Yes, 5-year and 10-year-old rum. Cologne, Brendan Carty down there are going to be, for such a small distillery, I think they're going to be it's a very small concern. My issue with Cologne is it's very small batch release, very expensive for what you're getting, 50 cl balls. I struggle to now. I visited. I think I maybe chatted about this before. I just popped them one day to see Brendan. They took me in, and I can't fault the guy. He's a true champ, like, and he just he opened a box and pulled out a Capita, a branded Capita from Cologne, and just dipped it into a tote full of it was the new rum and raisin at that point, and just said, "What do you think of that?" And it was outstanding, quality stuff. But I can't remember what they were charging. Something like £80 or £90 a bottle. I just can't. There's so many whiskies at the minute that I want to buy. I just can't force myself to spend that sort of money on it. And that maybe sounds a bit miserable sometimes, but it's just the way it goes, isn't it? Yet again, we can't buy them all. I'm really enjoying this. This Michter's. So here's hoping that the rest of this year there may be more meetups. I know I sort of chatted in the last live stream that there was something in the plans, and it was his name will come to me. I paused there for a moment because I'm reading. I really am no good at doing two things at once. Richard New, whose name some of us will know, who's an expat from here living in Canada. And Richard's coming over in July for 3 weeks. And I'll speak nicely about him because he might watch the replay. Rich is coming over in July, and I think he was sort of hoping that while he's here, maybe a few of us would hit Islay for a day, and they do an Islay trip from Ballycastle to Islay. And I think there's a tour of Ardbeg thrown in there as well, and then back that evening, and it looks and sounds cracking. So I've already spoke to a few of these guys. If there's anybody in here in Northern Ireland who I haven't spoken to about that or I've missed, that's probably coming up in July. Be a day trip just over to Islay for the day, hit Ardbeg, maybe somewhere else, and back in the evening. Or because some people like to take these things too far. As Tony the north coast there says, or we could just book in for the night and stay there for the night. But we'll see. We will see. Now, Drew from these, that's an interesting comment, because $60 for the rum and rye, that's actually not a bad price. It's not a bad price. I know for a fact that Brendan's really, really trying to win the American market, and he's got the product to do that. Irish whiskey is coming back, and it's coming back big style. I actually read a piece the other day. I can't remember where I read it, where Irish whiskey will probably, and I still find this a bit hard to believe, but I'm not the one making up the figures, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's true enough that Irish whiskey will outsell Scotch whiskey in America. Was it this year or next year? Maybe next year. Now that's a big prediction, I would say. And one that sort of saddens me a little, for the simple fact that, as we know, as a few of you will know, because I keep ranting about it, most of these new distilleries are still using sourced whiskey. They're still using, and most of it's, an awful lot of it actually is coming from Great Northern Distillery in just over the border in Dundalk. So it's a touchy subject. It's still Irish whiskey. It's still doing well. I'm proud that the fact that these whiskies are selling, but I just think the quality is still higher in Scotch whiskey. Personally, the Whiskey Scout is in good evening or good night, good morning. I have to always remember that the people all over the world. So no, yeah, I mean, it's great that Irish whiskey is doing so well, but I just, as I say, I just, to me, 5-10 years down the line, then we'll see. Yeah, Drew, thank you very much. That rye was so nice, just for a change again, and that's a good rye. I've had a few ryes, literally a handful, maybe 10. Out of them all, I would rate the Lot 40 right up there. Menno's in multi-mission. Menno, my friend. All theology kids are fashionably late. Yes. Well, Menno, Whiskey Wars Graham's added to the ball fund. Graham, thank you, buddy. Cheers. Always very much appreciate it. Something towards the Islay Hotel Fund. Well, I would like to think you'll be with us, Graham. I would like to think that you will be there. I want to make this year, for me personally, about sharing, even personally, the Northern Ireland people that are in here, and always make this, well, say, well, not all the Northern Ireland people, because Whiskey with Molly Ben is originally, as I said earlier on, from Coleridge, but now a Scot. We're meeting up, there'll be a few of us meeting up in a couple of weeks' time for a bevy. And once again, I actually asked someone, I've asked someone else that who's not in here this evening, but and when I asked him previously, would he like to go out for a drink with us the next time we're going out, which is this time, and he panicked, and it was this time. I don't know an awful lot about whiskey, and I said, look, but I said to him, we will drink Guinness and probably Jameson's Black Barrel. We talk a good game, but we're there to just talk and have a bit of laugh and have a bit of crack, and that's what it's actually about. So Tony says that it was, oh yes, that's right, it was his good lady Tracy who suggested he stay, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised it'll be suggested to me as well. Sometimes it's safer, isn't it? But we will see. Mm. Mm. Sorry, that rye just is a real pleasant change to the palate. Now, the longer I stay at it, because I'm rushing it a wee bit, because I'm sort of thinking here, I'll maybe try and get another one. I don't want to run too long, but maybe try and get another one in here tonight. So many samples. There's a sample in here. I woke up the morning after the Whiskey Festival. Now, bearing in mind that it went airport at what time was that at the airport? I was there for about 8 o'clock in the morning. It's not too early. Airport, Glasgow, met, as I say, a few people in Wetherspoons where they were having breakfast. Straight to then the festival for 12 o'clock. First drink I had that day, as I mentioned earlier on, Loch Lomond New Make Spirit bottled at 63.7%. And that's how the day continued. Drink. Lots of water. Granted, somebody did say water's your friend. Remember, water's your friend. That is 100% true. As much as you can drink. All day. Get up the next morning, and I was going down for breakfast, and I pulled on my jeans. And I put my hand in my pocket. And the sample's in here, but I can't remember which bottle it is now. And it was just a bottle with a wet label that just said, as far as all I could see in the blur of that morning was from Rolf. An Ebhead, Rolf Isaacson, had given me a sample. I didn't even remember him giving me this sample. I can't even remember off the top of my head. And it's in this box, but I'm not going to go through. I'll hit it eventually. Can't even remember what it is. So it's just, I just thought this was incredible. I really did. Greg's saying you can have some corn whiskey chaser that way. Yeah, true. I suppose it depends on what the random generator will pick out. Mm. Mm. That would stick to your ribs. That's class. Thank you, Drew. I appreciate that, my friend. See, I don't think I've had a Michter's. I don't like, yeah, the classic, the original, I really enjoyed. There's a friend of ours over here, Whiskey Graham. It's not our other friend Graham in here, but there's another one. And he is very, very into his bourbon. And Graham McNeil. And he has shared a few Michter's with me. It's very hard to get here. And very hard to get at a price that's not really just ripping you off. I remember there's an off sales in Belfast called the Vineyard, and I fairly early on in my journey, I visited the Vineyard and asked about the bottle of Michter's Original behind on the counter. I thought that's brilliant to actually see a bottle of this. And earlier in my journey, I would have tended to look for bourbons that weren't so stand out, so obvious over here. And but I still had a rough idea of the value of this stuff, the price of it. So I asked, how much it was, and it was ridiculous what they were looking for, and I just so I said no. I actually left with a bottle of mellow corn that day, and well, at the end of the day, that's mellow corn. I drank it, enjoyed it at the time, but so Tim Donner Pass Whiskies asking, Loch Lomond you make, seems that they could have a huge variety to put. Myself and Alan McLaughlin last year, Tim, whenever I went over to Scotland last year, going to pick another one here. Let's see what we get this time. Glenelgan, 11-year-old from Carnmore. This is from Whiskey Whims, Stuart. I know Stuart doesn't watch an awful lot of lives, but if you ever are watching the replay of this, Stuart, appreciate it. Like an independent bottling of Glenelgan, happy days. I can't see as any reason why I'm going to tell you this, Tim, about your Loch Lomond equipment recipes. When I was there last year with Alan McLaughlin and Michael Henry gave us Alan myself a tour of the distillery, which was just outstanding. I can't thank Michael enough for that. I don't think I'm crossing any lines by telling you this now, because he poured this for us and told everybody what it was. Ben, you're a moderator. Surely I'm not crossing any lines. If it was, I'm not going to say it until Ben actually backs me up about what we were drinking. If he says it's okay for me to tell you, I'm going to tell you. Jack the Pickled Hound, Matt is in. Good to see you, my friend. It's difficult and expensive to get mixers in New York. There you are. I would actually have thought that it would have been fairly simple to get it. Benno says it's the issue with Ireland. There's only 4 names for meals: Patrick, Sean, Seamus, and Graham. How Jim fits in. Well, there you are. I didn't. I missed. Ben saying that Roy mentioned it last night. I actually missed. There was a lock-in last night. Roy held because it was just exhausted. It was a long weekend, especially after the rugby. So basically, what Loch Lomond have made and what they're experimenting with is single pot still, in the same way that the Irish would make it. Now, the only difference being, I think, and yet again, I could be wrong here, it's not pot still, because I think what they're doing is they're using malted and unmalted barley, but they were still putting it through the column still, so they're actually making a single. Technically, they're still experimenting with single grains. I think I've got that right. I could be wrong. I could be wrong there. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I missed it. There's an awful lot of experimentation going on in Loch Lomond. Last year when we were there, Michael poured, and it was an awful moment. Nightmares for years to come about that. Poured for Alan and myself. It must have been a good 6 or 8 different new make spirits that they produced using different techniques, and we got he let us nose them all, and then they were all poured down the sink. Now, in fairness, he did let us try it. But then he went into their actual bottlings, their official bottlings, and some slightly different, say unofficial but different bottlings, and he let us try all of them. But it was just seeing these new make spirits being poured down the sink, because I suppose there's so much of it, but everyone different, everyone unique, everyone, and that that new make, that technically single pot still design, where it's using malted and unmalted barley, was interesting, very interesting. I feel now that I've quite a few bottlings of Loch Lomond, and I'm starting to feel like as if I've got a good feel. But they're one of these distilleries that every time you feel like as if you've got a good grasp of their signature, they just seem to change it up. Something changes, and they've got so many. They've just got so much on display there to work with. They're the only distillery in Scotland, as far as to my knowledge, that still has the pot stills, the column over pot, and the column stills, and they're working with technology, which Michael was showing us, that sort of takes them off the distillery tour route, and this is why they don't do tours. I think it's very, very much an industrial environment. I would go as far as to say Loch Lomond's a factory, but a bloody interesting factory, and one that I was just blown away with what was going on. Sorry, Tim's saying he's a sample of the Shelter Point Montfort. Shelter Point only tried, I think it was the one Shelter Point from Roy that week, the peated one. Well, it was matured in the peated cask for Craig 100% on malted barley. Yes, of course. I suppose you can still use the enzyme extract mashing, so as you're basically firing off the unmalted barley, the malted barley, and that's I've heard a lot about Shelter Point yet again being very unique about things like that. I'm hoping Richard and Hughes this is another one that when Richard comes over in July, Alan, I hadn't mentioned to you yet, but we will Whiskey Street Al. I hadn't mentioned that to you yet about Isla, but I don't think, but we will. That Shelter Point, Richard had mentioned that the Shelter Point are very, very unique. These are good drams tonight. Say this is Glenelgan, 11-year-old from Carmore, 47.5%. And Richard's in. Yes, Richard, you did hear your name mentioned. Good to see you, my friend. Cheers. Oh yeah. See, this is one of the only things I don't like about this format. But I do like it. But it's the good and the bad of this format. Some of these samples I would love to just sit down and take all day over and just tear them apart, and very rarely do I can't think of an example off the top of my head where I've said that's so good I'm going to rush out tomorrow and buy a bottle. They're all great. I can't. Yet again, I can't remember an example of no, that was an awful sample. Whoever it was that sent me that, you should be ashamed of yourself. But it just, I feel it's just too much of a glimpse sometimes of great whiskies, and that I would love to spend more time with them and spend time alone with them maybe. But oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that's, and initially the first sip of that was finished a bit short, a bit dry once again. But then once your palate acclimates itself to that one, it's rich, it's sweet, it's winey. And yet again, I don't know what the maturation is in this. Because I'm picking these out randomly, I don't know. So if anybody is looking, as I say, it's a Glenelgan 11-year-old from Carmore, bottle of 47.5%. Mm. That just gets better and better. It's rich. It's oily. Sweet, winey, as I said. Yeah, very nice. I think that one needs a wee drop of water again, just to temper it a bit. Not that much. So yeah, so just, I mean, that's the plan for. I think I told you that's the plan for this year. Just meet and greet people, get a chance to actually shake hands with as many people as I can within the whiskey community. That at the whiskey, that Glasgow Whiskey Festival just blew me away. I was like, there's a saying over here, and I don't mean to be crude, but it just sums it up best when I say I was like a dog with two dicks. It just, I was blown away. It was so nice. Everybody was so, there was so much great whiskey on display. Well, that's what I was going to tell you. I had, to say I had real standout whiskies, your senses are bombarded by flavors, smells. I found it very hard to sort of get a hold of myself and say, you know, right, that's just because you're just so busy talking to people and enjoying yourself, seeing people, you know. Now, with that said, there was, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it was. Everybody was glowing about it. I thoroughly enjoyed it as well. Sevi the Alchemist, who anybody who, and most of us know are bar flies in here. Sevi the Alchemist was there. Sevi flashing his SMWS card, getting special samples as much as he could. But for all of us, we were sharing it. And now, Ben, uh, so there was a very special SMWS sample come out, but I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. But it was very tasty. But while we were there, we were right beside the Scotch whiskey auctions table was there as well, and they had, and I can't remember. I think it was Ben once again said you've got to try that. Very good. The Lagavulin it was the Lagavulin Jazz Festival release from 2016, I believe. I think I've got that one down, and it was outstanding. I I just raved about it at the time. As Alan, the whiskey friend, just we were discussing it there and then, and Alan says, you know, that's probably a £400 ball, and honestly, it tasted like something like that. It was class. It was Lagavulin signature, but just finessed to the point of just absolute quality. You know, it was good. It was damn good. It was very memorable. Yeah, this just gets better. This Glenelg, there's something that tastes like, and I can't put my finger on it. I'm going to say it tastes like it's not a whiskey. There's a very strong flavor of some fruit drink. It's not blackcurrant. I even get the hint. I even get there might even be a wee hint of smoke in it. This is outstanding. I actually have a bit of paper in front of me, and that is one that I'm gonna look up. Glenelg, 11-year-old Carnmore. Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. So, look, I'm going to wrap this up. There seems to be an awful lot of chat about crisps, and I imagine it's potato. I could be wrong, but whenever there's Northern Ireland people in here, be they still here or living elsewhere now, potato and the potato, cheese, and onion was from Neil Laverty, so I imagine that's what he's talking about. And I know Luna, yeah, Taylor was the absolutely best Christmas fan. Luna spent a bit of time over here studying at a time as well. So it's good. It's good to see. It's good to see them getting bigged up. Oh, yeah. It might be blackcurrant actually. That's beautiful. Beautiful. Right. Sorry. I'm going to wrap it probably at that. Seems to be a good idea. I wanted to fit in another one in February. I'm trying to get back into 2 a month, and it's sometimes difficult, sometimes works out easy enough. But I can't thank you enough. Can't thank you enough for joining me. I did very much appreciate it. Um, I do. I actually enjoy these wee things. You might find more of these this year. Just shooting the shit, drinking samples, because the samples are sort of getting out of hand. There's quite a few of them there. I want to try and get through some of them. So as I said, you might find there'll be more. If I'm trying to get 2 a month in, there'll be more of these this year than with guests, etc. Because the guest ones tend to overrun a bit. Plus, I sometimes clam to the point where I struggle. I just don't know what to talk about at all. So I listen once again. Thank you very much for joining me. It was good fun tonight. I enjoyed that, and I hope to see as many of you this year as possible. I know we're all over the world. It's the great thing about the whiskey community. But the sad thing about it is that I would love to be in all your company all the time. Unfortunately, that is life. Folks, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. Until I see you the next time, here's your good health. Cheers.